Hey guys, Mr. Decker here again, and for this lesson, lesson 6 of Unit 6 on physical computing, we are learning about getting properties. Okay, let's see, we're on bubble 1, so let's get started. Here's an example of an app that uses both getProperty and setProperty to update elements on the screen. Read through the code and then test it out by filling out the input fields and clicking Save. Note, you don't need to change any code here, but read through the provided code to see how it works. All right, so I'm going to move me out here so we can read through this code. Further up, there we go. Plenty out of the way now. Okay, so before we even start filling this out, let's look at the code. We've got one big on event with a lot of things inside of it. Okay. So on event, save button, click. So when we click the save button here over on the app, a lot of things are going to happen apparently. So we have 3 variables being established up here. So we've got a name, color, and newsletter. So we've got a name, color, and add me to the newsletter checkbox. Okay, so we've got a get property, name input, so that's this here, value, and then for this one, for color input on line 3, so variable color gets get property, color input, value. All right, and then variable newsletter gets get property, newsletter input checked. So checked for this box. And then we've got some set properties down here. Set property name output, text name. So for name output, we've got name input here. Here's the name output down here. So I guess it's going to, whatever name you put here, it'll print it on the screen here. And then a set property color output, my favorite color is, so right here, it's going to tell us, oh, it may even change something about the background color, okay. And then if newsletter, set property newsletter output, text, I am on the newsletter, else set property newsletter output text is going to say I am not on the newsletter. Okay, so basically we have these interactive inputs, so we can put our name here, we can choose a color, we can check or leave that blank, and then when we click save, it's going to run all of this code, and it looks like these variables have been utilized down here. And typically when you call on a variable to be utilized, like here, right, you're not going to have that in quotation marks because it's using the variable. And then color gets used here. And then newsletter gets used right here in our if statement. So let's run this and let's test it. See how it's working. So name, Mr. Decker. My favorite color, we'll go with blue. And yeah, add me to the newsletter. Save. Cool. So Mr. Decker, oh, okay, cool. Puts a little background color swatch there, and then it says, I am on the newsletter. Neat. All right. Let's finish and continue. And we'll move my head down. Yeah, there we go. Get property and variables. Let me version history this one. Start over, I am sure. All right, this program uses the name variable to display the name typed into the name input when the submit button is clicked. It should do the same for friend input and friend output, but it's missing a block. Do this. Read the code and comments, then run the program to see how it works. So we'll run it. Make sure you type in your name and your friend's name before hitting submit. So we'll run. We'll put my name. We'll put a friend's name, my wife's name, submit. Welcome, David and your friend. Okay. Use a get property block to store the text property of friend input into your variable friend name. Show me where. So if I click here, it'll tell me where I need to put this get property block. I've got a get property block here. It already told me where to put it. So we'll stash that into the variable. So now we have this working like this one. So this one worked already, variable name, right, for the name input. Get property name input value. So whatever you put in that field is the value, and it will print your name input for the name output down here. So for this one, variable friend name get property from the friend input, that's this, and then value right here. Boop. All right, so now when we run it and we enter my name and my wife's name, submit, welcome David and Monty, my most beautiful Monty. All right, so we've got that set, I think. Very cool. One quick second here. All right, so we'll finish and continue on to bubble 3. And let me version history this. All right, so dropdowns. Text inputs are nice when you want users to be able to enter anything they want, but often you want to restrict them to just a few choices. For example, if you want your user to pick a color, you probably want to make sure they can only choose colors that will actually work. Makes sense. The provided dropdown with the ID color input allows a user to choose from a handful of background colors. When the set color button is clicked, the screen will turn that color. Okay, cool. Do this. Inside, did I scroll down too far? No, we're good. So inside the event block right here for set color, click. Create a variable called color. All right, so let's go to the variables drawer. We're going to create a variable. We're going to call it color. All right. And assign it a value using the get property block. So we're going to go back into UI controls. Here's get property. All right. Hint, you'll need to use the value property to get the user's choice. All right, so for get property, we're getting their color input, right? The color that they choose, and we want to select value here. All right. And then use the set property block to set the background color property of screen 1 to your variable color. All right, so we'll grab a set property block and background color. Oh, wait. Yeah, set property screen 1. My bad. That's the ID for the background. And then the property is going to be background color. And this is going to be color. So we want to tie that variable to this. Obviously, it's not in the dropdown. We want to take all of this text out, including those quotation marks. And then we're just going to type color here. And that's going to tie the result or value here to the variable get property that we established on line 2. So when we run it, cadet blue, lawn green, thistle, chocolate, and orchid. So let's see what these do. Set color. All right, that's cadet blue, lawn green, set color, thistle, set color, chocolate, set color, and orchid set color. So it's working. So basically what this is doing, so on event set color click, that's this button right here. Right, when I click that, it's running the code inside that on event. And so we had to establish this variable for color. And then we say variable color gets this get property for color input. Right? Whoop. Here's the color input. So we're getting the property that's chosen here, whatever color was picked. And then it's setting the property of the screen to a background color, right? Whatever you chose from that dropdown. Pretty cool. All right, let's move on to bubble 4. So we'll finish and continue. Oh, let me get that out of the way. Okay, using the circuit playground, you can also use getters and setters with the circuit playground. For this level, you'll need to plug in your board. Well, mine's already plugged in. All right. Read through the code and predict what the program will do. Then hit run to test your prediction. So there's a lot of code here. So let's see. Let's read through this code and predict what's going to happen. So automatically up here on line 1, we have a set property instructions. That's this part right here. Hidden false. So when I run the program, these instructions are going to be visible. If it said true there, the hidden property would make it invisible. All right. And then we have an onboard event. So on the circuit playground, when the button L is pressed, a lot of stuff is going to happen. Let's see. So we have a variable LED type, get property LED input value. Okay, so this is, I'm assuming, the LED input. Yep. And I'm assuming this is a drop down where you can select different types. So blink, on, pulse, etc. If LED type equals blink, and this is something to know for programming. So if you see a math operator like this, so a double equal sign in programming or in JavaScript in particular is equals. When you see an equal sign by itself, meaning there's not two of them, that's a gets. So this reads like variable LED type gets, and this reads like if LED type equals blink, right? So these if statements or conditionals are either true or false. They're Boolean expressions. So if LED type is blink, if blink is selected here, then the LED will blink at a rate of 200. If the LED type equals pulse, then the LED will pulse at a rate of 200. And then we have an onboard event down here, button R. If you press button R, the LED will be off. Okay, so yeah, like I said here in my answer, when I press button L on the circuit playground, the LED will blink or pulse depending on the chosen option from the drop-down menu. When I press button R, the LED will turn off. So let's run it and see. Let me make my picture bigger. All right. And from here, oh, nothing's happening. Maybe my toggle switch. What's happening? Let's see. Maybe I have to mess with it. Oh, run, duh. So blink is chosen. And then I have to hit the button to make it work. And then it turns off. Okay, so when I hit button L, it starts blinking. Button R, makes it turn off. Let's see if pulse is working. All right, button L turns it on and it's pulsing. Button R turns it off. It's a working. All right, let's go to bubble 5. While that's going, finish, continue. All right, let's version history this. We'll start over. And on this one second. All right. On this one, using the circuit playground. So here's the same code you saw in the last level, but this time there's another drop-down menu to control the buzzer. You'll have to add the code to make it work. Using the LED code as a model, so let's make the instructions smaller so we have room to work here. So using the LED code as a model, add new code inside the button L event that will play a long or short buzz according to the chosen value property of the buzzer input drop-down menu. Okay. So if I run it right now, what do we have? We have short buzz and long buzz as options. All right. So we're going to add new code that will turn the buzzer off as well when the right button is pressed. Hint, the event is already in the code. Okay. That's down here. All right, so I think we need to add some if statements. We also need a variable. So first, let's get our variable. We're going to tie it to buzzer input. Okay. We have an LED type variable here, so we're going to kind of mooch off of this and see if we can get this right. So I'm going to call this buzz type. And we need a get property, so we'll go into UI controls. And this is going to be buzzer input value. And it seems like value is working such that it will grab whatever value you've chosen there. All right. And then down here, we have two inputs here, either short buzz or long buzz. So I think we'll need two conditionals or two if statements here. So control is where our if statements live. Let's throw two if statements in here. And these if statements are going to have Boolean expressions in them. There's only one to choose from, so that's helpful. So equals and equals again. And each one of these is going to be buzz type, tying this variable, just like the LED type variable is tied to these if statements. So control C on buzz type, and I'm going to just control V that text in there for both of those. All right, and then we're going to have short buzz and long buzz as the options. So we have short buzz and long buzz. And I'm thinking we're going to have to put text or quotation marks around those, like blink and pulse have here. So we'll do short buzz here. So in quotation marks, short buzz. And in quotation marks, long buzz. All right. And then inside these if statements, we have our then part of it. Let's go to circuit because we're going to control the frequency, or not the frequency. Yeah, we need the frequency block, but we're only messing with the duration. So for one of them, for the short buzz, the duration will be short, and for the long buzz, we'll make it long. Let's use 200 and 2000. There we go. All right, so let's test that and make sure that is running properly. So short buzz is selected, and the on event is pressing button L. Let's make me bigger again. Okay, so that's short buzz. And long buzz. Yep. Okay, cool. That's working. And then we need to do one more thing down here. We need to add code that will turn the buzzer off when the right button is pressed. So onboard event, button R pressed, LED off, buzzer stop. That makes sense. So let's run it. We'll do that long buzz. And when I hit button L, it's going to make the LED blink and make that long buzz sound. When I hit R, button right, it both turns the LED off and turns the buzzer off. Awesome. Makes sense. All right, let's move on to the next one. Bubble 6. Okay, Bubble 6. Let's version history this. All right, last time your users were only able to choose between a short and a long buzz. To give the user control over the exact duration of the buzzer, you'll want to use a slider. This slider lets users choose a value between 100 and 1000 for the duration of the buzz, but there's something not quite right about how it's working. Do this. Look over the code and find the bug that's keeping the duration from being set correctly. Okay. Look over the code and find the bug that's keeping the duration from being set correctly. And then hover over the yellow triangles for clues as to what might be wrong with the code. So let's hover over this. Duration is defined but not called in your program. Okay. So even though we have this slider over here that's going to adjust the duration, and we've said get property duration value, we haven't tied it to anything. And then right here, buzzer underscore duration hasn't been declared yet. So right here we have a variable. It's trying to call a variable, but that variable hasn't been defined yet. Okay. Is that all it wanted us to do, is just look over it? Apparently. So run. And then button L is supposed to turn the buzzer on. Oh, there we go. So we've hit button L, and then we've got an error down here in the debug console and a red here. So it says, oops, we can't figure out what the buzzer duration is. Perhaps you meant the string buzzer underscore duration. With quotes, if this is meant to be a variable, make sure you declared a variable. variable buzzer duration. Okay, interesting. So yeah, we've got some variable issues going on here. So let's finish and continue. We'll be on bubble 7. Does it want us to fix this? Look over the code and find the bug. I don't think it wants us to fix it. It just wanted us to find the, oh, okay, keep working. Okay, so maybe we should fix this. All right, hold on just a minute. All right, I'm back. So when we run it right now, we're getting this error code, right? When we try to change anything up here, we've got this duration is defined, but it's not called anywhere. And then right here, buzzer underscore duration hasn't been declared. So what we have is a naming error. So this variable duration should be called right here. Buzzer underscore duration isn't even a thing. So when we reset and run now, let me make myself bigger so you can see. No errors now, right? I'm hitting it, and this slider is set to short. Ugh, cords everywhere. Okay, so the buzzer is short right now. If I increase it or make it long, hit the button. Now it's long, and you can be more precise with the length now. So you can make it shorter all the way to the bottom or longer. Cool, I like these sliders. That's helpful. I can see how that would be useful in a lot of ways. So let's finish and let's go to bubble 7. And on bubble 7, let's see, let me version history it. All right, this buzzer controller has been expanded to control frequency as well, but the code isn't finished yet. All right, do this. Using the duration variable as a model, right here on line 2, create a frequency variable that gets the value from the frequency slider. All right, so let's go ahead and start making that variable. Variable frequency. And we're going to throw a get property into it using duration as a model here. So the so ID frequency there, and then value. All right. So we've done this bullet point. Modify the line of code that makes the buzzer sound so that it uses the frequency variable rather than the default frequency of 500. So right here. So we need to tie it, like duration is tied to duration. So I think we need frequency. Tying that together. So now, right, looking at the buzzer.frequency block, the first parameter here, the frequency, and then the second one is duration. So normally you would put just a numerical value there in those spots to control it, but we're wanting to control it with this slider, or with these sliders, right? Remembering that the frequency controls like the pitch, right? Low value means low frequency, high value means high frequency, and then low value on the slider or will be a shorter duration, and then a higher value will be a longer duration, right? And that get property, duration, value, frequency, value. Okay. And then finally, we've got an onboard event, button R, press, makes it turn off. Run your code, then change the frequency and the duration to hear the difference in the buzzer. Don't forget to hit the button after you make a change. So run. And let me make myself bigger. All right, so let's just do it without making any changes. So right, so we've got a low frequency and a short buzz. If we do a high frequency a long buzz with high frequency. Whew. All right, that works. So let's go back to the middle and see what it sounds like. And you can do these independently. So if I want it to buzz for a long time and be low pitch or low frequency, very cool. All right, so we see how the slider works and how we can use it with the buzzer. Very cool. Let's finish and let's go to bubble 8. All right, so finish, continue, on to bubble 8. All right, so let's see. Now we're using the slider to affect the behavior of the LED, just as we could change the values of the frequency and duration of the buzzer. Okay. So this time the slider is controlling the LED. We can change the value for the blink or pulse interval of the LED. Do this. Read the code and predict what the program is going to do, then hit run to test your prediction. All right. So let's look at this code. So we have an onboard event and another onboard event. Button R is going to just turn the LED off. And then button L, when that's pressed down, we have a variable tied to a get property. So the interval variable also tied to blink here. I'm assuming this is interval. Yep, it is. So the ID, I don't know if you could see that, is interval here on the slider. And the get property is interval value. So I'm thinking that when button L is pressed, the LED will blink at shorter or longer intervals, depending on the slider being further left or right, increasing or decreasing the value. Also when button R is pressed, the LED will turn off. Okay, so let's run it and test this prediction. So let's make me bigger so you can see what I'm doing with the board. And button L makes it blink. Button R makes it turn off. But let's see about changing this. So let's slide it all the way over to longs just to illustrate. Oh, I think we need to reset it. So button L. Oh, weird. Okay, what's going on? changing the blink speed. So short blinks, right, button L. We've got those short blinks. Let's turn it back off with button R. Can I turn it back on with button L? Yep, okay. Let's try on the slider again. Why is the interval getting messed up? Seems like the code on their own bubble here is not working the way they intended. There it goes. So now you can see the LED interval is much longer now, so it stays lit longer and stays unlit longer. If I turn that off, let's go to max. I don't know why that wasn't working right before. Turn it off. So now the blinking is off, blinking back on. Reset run. And then I change it. So now it's working. All right. I don't know why that wasn't working initially, but it's working now. Okay, that's it for this video. We're just doing bubbles 1 through 8 for this one. We'll be back later for another video doing bubbles 9 through 13.